Today, my purpose is to provide an overview of the research program here in the intramural program of NINR, as well as to describe some exciting new directions that we're taking over this next year. The theme for today's presentation is that of training. It's specifically here what we're doing on the campus in Bethesda, Maryland, as well as our outreach activities to support the training needs of our extramural investigators. Today, I'll highlight the work of our principal investigators, as well as show the amazing work that's being undertaken, and also our exciting new scientific avenues, and specifically highlight the role of the Symptom Science Center, which is being led by Dr. Leo Saligan. This presentation will also highlight the training environment that we've created here under the direction of Dr. Kashin, as well as Dr. Tamaz, and really highlight the commitment of our principal investigators to creating training environments for nursing researchers at all levels to face the challenges that are ahead of us. NINR's Intramural Research Program is focused on symptom science. Specifically, we are dedicated to conducting research to understand the molecular and biobehavioral underpinnings of the development of symptoms, as well as maintenance of symptoms, making them more chronic and problemsome for individuals who sustain them. We study environmental influences, including behavior, lifestyle, and diet, to understand individual variation in outcomes and symptom development. We also recognize and investigate the impact of individual variation, both in genetics as well as other factors that greatly contribute to the development as well as the maintenance of these symptoms. Lastly, we design and conduct clinical interventions to treat or alleviate these symptoms and to overall improve health-related quality of life in the patients that we serve. The NINR intramural scientists use the principles of the NIH symptom science model, which was developed by Dr. Grady, our former director, also with Dr. Kashin, our current acting director here at NINR. This model begins with the presentation of a symptom by a patient, resulting in phenotypic characterization of that symptom, as well as other comorbid symptoms, ultimately resulting in the discovery of biomarkers that advance our clinical applications and our ways that we can improve these symptoms in these deserving patients. So recently, the Symptom Science Center was approved as the most recent branch within our NINR intramural program. This, again, will be led by Dr. Leo Saligan. The first focus of this center will be that on fatigue and related comorbid symptoms. The NIH symptom science model will employ the principles of the NIH symptom model, and specifically to lead to biomarker discoveries, which can be translated into clinical care to reduce symptom burden and to overall improve patients' quality of life, as well as to engage patients as well as their families in the care that's provided. The mission of this center is to promote the understanding of the biological and biobehavioral mechanisms of symptoms to ultimately improve patient outcomes. The vision of this seminar overall is to provide an integrated foundational nexus for scientific and clinical communities to improve our understanding of the development of symptoms, as well as how we can identify biomarkers that improve the outcomes through interventions that then we can provide to patients. Objectives of the center include to promote discovery, both in the clinic as well as in the lab, as well as to create collaborative, interdisciplinary teams that are most apt to be able to address these complex issues. Also, to develop a symptom science data repository that can be used here intramurally, as well as with our extramural partners, to maximize our ability to better understand symptoms and to translate this into better care. Lastly, it's to expand the expertise and to do Symptom Science Center, not just at NINR, but also to provide the training for nurse scientists across the country to be able to do this important science. Over the next year, the Symptom Science Center will be developed, and so we'll be excited to show you guys where we're going and also how we're developing it and what directions it's taking us in. As you can see, this is our organizational framework. NINR is divided into 5 different branches, and I'll discuss each of these today, as well as the investigators that are within these branches. We have a strong and vibrant research program where investigators are engaged in clinical translational research using advanced methods, both in the clinic as well as in the lab. We maximize the unique environment that we have here at NIH, both in our lab as well as in the NIH Clinical Center. We integrate omics with biobehavioral data to examine outcomes and design interventions to improve patient symptoms and overall symptom burden. This platform that we have here at NINR allows us to do amazing science, which will be highlighted here today by the trainees that will show what we can do here within the intramural program. Today, you'll get to hear from 4 of the fellows within this program to show what an environment that we have, as well as the commitment of our principal investigators to provide an environment here that can train neuroscientists to address the critical issues that we have ahead of us. Instrumental to this task is the clinical director, Dr. Sue Wingate, who oversees clinical aspects here of NIH and all the clinical components that we have here on the NIH campus. This includes clinical protocols, as well as clinical competencies, and also overseeing the clinical staff within our division. This year, she was appointed as the vice chair of the Medical Executive Committee, which is the first instance of a nurse holding this position here at NIH. So we're excited to have her as a trailblazer within our division. We also are grateful to the work of Dr. Pam Tamez that's being highlighted here today by showing the training environment that's been created here in the intramural program. Dr. Tamez oversees what we do here in the intramural program, as well as the outreach that we do to help extramural partners in development of additional training. Some of the additional training that we do provide here today includes the Summer Genetics Institute, which has been ongoing since the year 2000. As well as the NINR Symptom Methodologies boot camps, which have been very popular. I've heard that sometimes they fill up within about 2 hours of being released. Lastly, also the program, which is the Graduate Partnership Program, which allows PhD nursing students from across the country to come here to NINR to do their dissertation research here. One of these students, Dr. Katie Edwards, who has been a mentee of mine, will be highlighted today to show what type of research can be done and also where that can take you in your career. This is also something that Dr. Barr very well highlighted. In the first branch is the biobehavioral branch, and this supports research into the interplay of behavioral, biological, and environmental determinants of health in patients across the lifespan. Specifically, we'll talk about the 2 different units, one being the digestive disorders unit, which is led by Dr. Wendy Henderson, and also the Symptom Sensory Science Metabolism Unit, which is led by Dr. Polly Joseph. Dr. Wendy Henderson is a tenure-track investigator here in NINR. Her unit examines brain-gut microbiota mechanisms and biobehavioral symptoms and interventions involved in symptom distress in patients with digestive disorders. The long-term program goal of her program of research is to identify Omics signatures to improve the diagnosis as well as the treatment of patients with digestive disorders. Our most recent addition to the intramural program is Dr. Polly Joseph, who joined us after her completing her PhD at the University of Pennsylvania, and then was a postdoctoral fellow under the mentorship of Dr. Wendy Henderson. She now is an assistant clinical investigator, and she's developing her lab here at NINR to address sensory differences, specifically taste and smell, which may contribute to long-term risks for the development of type 2 diabetes as well as obesity. It's already been covered that she recently received a very meritorious award, and she's received many also through her time here. And so we're excited to see as her program of research develops and to report back on the findings of this program. Next, we have the symptom management branch. And this branch really focuses on understanding the mechanisms that underlie a broad range of symptoms. And this symptom branch is also led by Dr. Leo Saligan and will be combined in some ways with the Symptom Science Center. Within this branch is Dr. Leo Saligan, who's chief of the Symptoms Biology Unit. He's a tenure-track investigator here at NINR who examines the nature and consequences of the onset of fatigue following cancer-related therapies, and now also looking at other types of inducing fatigue, types of phenotypes and disorders. His work, recently his work was shown and published in the manuscript describing the role of glutamate receptors in chronicity and fatigue symptoms following cancer-related therapy. And this was recently published in Translational Psychiatry, which is a subset of a Nature journal. The third branch is the tissue injury branch, which conducts clinical and laboratory-based studies based on the mechanisms that underlie the onset of symptoms following a tissue injury. This includes brain injuries, as well as also the neuromuscular symptoms unit, which is directed by Dr. Katie Mayer. This is my branch. It's always a little hard to talk about yourself. But the focus of this branch is really a unit is to look at the mechanisms that underlie the development of symptoms like fatigue, sleep, and headaches following a brain injury that includes concussions as well as traumatic brain injuries. We know that these are very common in the lives of Americans, but we don't know which patients will recover and which ones need more preventative intervention as monitoring. So the focus of our research is to identify biomarkers that allow us to identify those patients most at risk, to then provide the preventative interventions to modify those risks. Dr. Katie Mayer is chief of the Neuromuscular Science Unit and became a tenure track investigator in 2016. As you guys also saw a younger picture of her earlier. She's a proud graduate of our GPP program. The goal of her program of research is to develop novel interventions and treatments for various types of congenital muscle disease, most of which have no current treatments and are associated with significant morbidity as well as mortality. Her team recently completed data collection on the first clinical trial in congenital myopathies with RY-R1 NAC trial, which was an effort to alleviate symptoms related to the RY-R1 related myopathies. Data analysis is now underway, and so we'll be excited to see these important findings come out. Lastly, the Advanced Visualization Branch is undertaken by Dr. Patty Brennan, who is also the director of the Library of Medicine here at NIH. The purpose of her program is to improve patient self-management through interesting and engaging presentation of actionable health information. This branch brings a lot of diversity to what we do here at NINR, so we're excited to see how this takes us in new directions over the next year. Lastly, we could not do the research that we do here without the ongoing support of our unique laboratory infrastructure. Here at NINR, we have a shared lab, meaning that we all work together as investigators to address the critical questions that come up in the research that we're pursuing, to use these types of new technologies to understand why some individuals develop symptoms, whereas others do not, as well as to identify therapeutic targets that then we can modulate and improve outcomes in patients. This work is being led by Dr. Kim, who I don't believe is here today, but who leads us in developing cross-cutting technologies, as well as in the mentorship and the training of the fellows who do a lot of the work that we have in the lab and help educate nurses to be able to do the science, not just here, but also extend it as they go back across the country to other training sites and also academic institutions. Lastly, this is our website. I strongly encourage you to reach out to us. We love to give lab tours as well as tours of the clinic and show what we're doing. Think of us as your intramural program partners and collaborators. And so we welcome collaborations and any questions that you may have.